Hello, Wendy Fryberg here, Chief Operating Officer. As you can see, I'm wearing my mask for this video, and that is because the message that we have to share today is about some changes that we will be experiencing. We've recently experienced an uptick in COVID cases, and because of that, it has some effects on all of us in our workplace and within Tulalip community. Anybody that's entering into the administration building, we will continue to take your temperature, as well as have you answer some questions and verify if there are any symptoms. If anybody is experiencing symptoms, we will not permit you into the building. For safety purposes, we have determined that one entrance will be open for everybody to enter the building so that we can ensure that everybody comes through the checkpoint and that we're touching base with everybody to get their temperature checked. If you have symptoms, you will not be permitted to enter. If at the time that you're checking in and you have symptoms and you're turned away, HR will be notified on your behalf, letting them know that you were asked to return home due to the symptoms. If you continue to experience illness and symptoms, you should reach out to HR and your supervisor, follow the call-in policy. And any symptoms that are COVID related based on exposure and or positive testing, it's important to make sure that you contact Amanda Hagnes in HR. She will conduct a questionnaire with you to ensure that you understand what is expected of you as an employee as you're off work. These changes will be effective on Monday, October 12th, and we thank you for your understanding and your cooperation with this process. Employees that are coming in for work each day, we ask you to plan ahead and make sure that you have enough time to come through the checkpoint because that will be expected prior to clocking in. For visitors, we would appreciate it if you could schedule appointments with the departments in the government buildings that you need to receive services from. Any visitors that are entering into our buildings, you will come through the checkpoint and have your temperature checked, answer some questions. If you are experiencing symptoms, you will not be permitted to enter the building, and we will ask that you reach out to that department directly by phone for services needed. Just a reminder, we're still accepting payments by phone. Rent, utilities, mortgage are some examples of payments that you can do over the phone. With the exception of loan payments, we do not have that option yet. However, finance is working diligently on making sure that that can be provided very soon. In the meantime, any payment that you need to make, you can call the finance department directly at 360-716-4353. So we encourage, if you can call in your payment rather than entering into the building, please do so. Lastly, I would like to discuss some of our external buildings and other areas. I'll start with the skate park. The skate park has been closed until further notice. When we determine that it's safe to reopen that area, we'll make sure that an announcement is made and the youth are aware that they can visit that space again. As far as our external buildings and rental areas, such as the KM building and the dining hall, we have community members that like to rent these facilities, and we do have some that have been scheduled already. Because of the increase in COVID cases recently and not knowing what our future holds, we really want to ensure safety for everyone. So we have made a decision. If we have less than 5 active cases, we will allow for a building rental to continue. If we have more than 5 active cases, we will be canceling the rental. And the way that this will work is on each Tuesday when we receive our update from the weekend numbers, we will make the decision and provide notification. Anybody who has a rental for the weekend following that Tuesday, you will be contacted that your event may need to be rescheduled and canceled for that weekend. We want you to know that we're still accepting reservations for building rentals in the future, and we're still putting them on the calendar. We can't predict what to expect in the future, and we pray that we are not going to have more cases and a continued uptick. So we still want to make this opportunity available for you, but we want to be very transparent so that you know what to expect with your rentals and that they may be subject to cancellation based on COVID cases. We understand that receiving information about having to potentially cancel an event is not the best news, but we want you to know that we make these decisions in the best interest of our community as a whole. Our ultimate goal is to keep everybody safe And so with that, I would like to turn this over to Rochelle, and she will share with you some more information about COVID-specific questions and concerns. Thank you.
Hello, employee community. I know that people get worried when we have upticks in positive COVID cases in our workforce or in our community. But I want you to rest assured that we will do our best to be transparent, share information with you, and make sure that we keep your safety a priority. If you know that you've been directly exposed to anybody who has had a positive COVID test, please do not report to work. Use the call-in line and follow the normal HR procedures. In addition, if you believe you've been exposed to COVID and you receive a test, please contact Amanda Hagnes in HR to see if you qualify for our COVID leave policy. Many people ask, what is direct exposure? And so today I want to talk to you a little bit about what tribal government believes direct exposure is based on evidence from the CDC. Direct exposure is prolonged direct contact with someone for longer than 15 minutes without wearing a face mask. That includes being within 6 feet of the person that has the positive COVID test. The process that we're using in tribal government is the employee who believes they've had direct exposure calls into HR in the call-in line to stay home sick. Then you will call Amanda Hagnes, who will go through a series of questions to identify if you've had direct exposure and if you qualify for COVID admin leave. During this time, we will ask you to get tested for COVID and to stay home until we know the results of your test. If somebody is at work when they find out that they are potentially exposed to someone who has a positive COVID test, a manager or supervisor should isolate that person right away and call Amanda. Managers and supervisors do not have the authority to send a person home. That's why it is important to isolate that employee, have them talk to Amanda, and follow procedures. This week during the uptick, we talked to many employees who did not have direct exposure but were beginning to feel fearful in the workplace. We understand that this can be very challenging for people. We have students who are participating in virtual learning. We live with vulnerable household members. And so we want you to know that you will not be punished for going home when you feel fearful for COVID. You can use your personal leave, and this includes sick leave and annual leave. And we've also opened up sick leave transfers for those experiencing low leave. If you have been exposed in the workplace, rest assured that our HR department will contact you immediately. If there is a positive case in one of our buildings, we isolate that person right away, and anybody who's been directly exposed is contacted. So if you do not receive that phone call, rest assured that you have not been directly exposed. Having access to test our employees is a priority for us, and that is why we have opened up the Tulalip Health Clinic for employees to do the drive-up testing. It is important that you call for an appointment to make this a more seamless process. Testing and isolating are the most important things to do when we're trying to reduce positive COVID cases. Wearing your mask, social distancing, washing your hands are all ways to protect us in our buildings. We would like people to remain calm as much as possible as we work through this and moving forward. Thank you so much for all you do every day and the service you provide for our community.